Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to this webinar on how to use contact angle to optimize and evaluate plasma treatment. My name is Anna Junnila, and I work as a customer care manager at Biolin Scientific, and I will be hosting this webinar today. Before we dive into today's topic, just a few words about us at Biolin Scientific. So we provide world-leading analytical instrument solutions for advanced analysis of surface properties and interactions. And our instruments are trusted by top universities and industrial labs worldwide. We are part of AdLife Group and have over 60 employees. The roots of the company are in Sweden and in Finland. And besides Sweden and Finland, we have offices in China. Our headquarters is in Gothenburg, Sweden. We operate both directly and through our distributors globally. But now to the topic of today. So how to use contact angle to optimize and evaluate plasma treatment. Our speaker today is my colleague Susanna Laurén, who is Marketing Director of Attention and KSV NIMA at Biolin Scientific. She has a background in engineering. In her PhD thesis, she developed fabrication methods for a new type of inorganic organic polymers. And Susanna has many years of experience with the surface science related topics and instrumentation. So Susanna, welcome.
Thank you so much, Anna. So as Anna said, we are gonna talk about how to optimize or how to use contact angles to optimize and evaluate plasma treatment. So in this webinar, I'm going to go through a little bit on why we are using contact angle and how contact angles can be measured. And then I will also show you few case examples on how contact angles have been successfully used to evaluate surface properties before and after plasma treatment. So most of you, of course, are very familiar on this topic because so I'm not going to spend time to really talk about why or what is plasma treatment. But of course, plasma treatment is used in various different industries, and the purpose is really to improve the surface wettability for better coating and ink adhesion, and to improve surface or also surface cleaning, and then improve bonding, etc. So there are really a lot of different reasons to use plasma treatment. As said, I'm not going to go too much into the details of what is plasma treatment, but in general, it's an energy is basically just a gas that is energized into a plasma that contains then ions and electrons and other reactive species that are bombarded into the surface of our material. And the plasma is really only changing the very, the purpose is really to change only the very top of the material surface. So we are using plasma to modify the surface properties, not to modify the bulk properties of the material. I mean, as said, when there are a few different reasons why people are typically interested in using plasma treatment. One of them could be just to clean the surface by basically breaking down and removing the organic contaminants, which could be like different type of oils or some other substances that are in the surface because of the processes done beforehand. Or then we could use plasma treatment to activate the surface by introducing some polar and functional groups so that we can increase the surface energy and wettability of the surface. One very common reason to use plasma treatment is really to improve adhesion. We can improve adhesion of, let's say, different type of inks or paints or coatings or adhesives that are used in the next process steps. And also, I mean, we want to really kind of make sure that the properties of the surface are always the same when we enter into the next process steps. And this is just to then give you kind of a very simplistic idea of the purpose of the plasma treatment. This is an example of a polypropylene surface, which if you place a drop on a native polypropylene surface, a drop of water, it will be quite spherical on the surface. But then when we do a plasma treatment on the polypropylene surface, the water will spread on the surface. And I'm going to talk about a few different, or use few different terms throughout this webinar. So I just want to make sure that we are on the same page here. So the terms that we are going to use the most is contact angle. Then I'm going to touch upon a little bit on surface free energy, and surface tension is also, of course, interrelated to this. So if you look at the picture here, you can see that we have a drop of water, or let's say water in this case, placed on the surface, and it takes this spherical shape on the surface. And here we have a three-phase contact point where the solid, liquid, and gas meet. And what type of a shape the droplet will take depends on the forces at this three-phase contact point. And these forces are basically a sum of the surface tension of the liquid that we are using, the surface free energy of the solid that we have, and the interfacial tension between the solid and the liquid. The most common way to measure wettability is using the contact angle, which we can measure also here at the three-phase contact point. And contact angle is really a direct measurement of surface wettability, and most often it's measured with optical tensiometers. Force tensiometers can also be used, but most commonly we would use optical tensiometer to measure the contact angle. Surface tension is the property of the liquid, and this surface tension also affects on what type of a shape the droplet will take. So if we would place a water droplet, let's say on polypropylene surface, it would be quite rounded. If we would have some, let's say, clean glass surface, then the droplet would spread. Sorry, if we would have some other type of a liquid, like for example ethanol, and we would place that on the on the same surface, it would spread much more because the surface tension of ethanol is lower. Then we have surface free energy, which is the property of the solid, and this is equivalent to the surface tension of liquid. So the only difference really is, or one difference is that the surface V energy of the solid cannot be measured directly, whereas the surface tension, we have many different ways to measure it. So if we want to measure the surface V energy of the solid, we actually have to do it by measuring the contact angle of the solid with different probe liquids. Now, if we think about plasma treatments and how kind of traditionally the efficiency of plasma treatment has been evaluated, it's by using dyeing pens or inks. And how these work is that you have a set of these different dyeing pens or inks, and you draw a line with the ink to your surface. And then by just looking at how the ink with different surface tension values behave on the surface, you get let's say, some sort of a estimate of a surface V energy of your solid. However, this, as you can see from this picture as well, it is quite subjective evaluation of the surface wettability. So it can vary quite a bit from person to person what they would determine the surface V energy of the solid to be based on how the ink behaves on the surface. One problem with dyeing pens is also that it's not actually possible to measure on small areas. And what we have really seen is that a lot of people nowadays are interested in measuring on, let's say, ready or products or samples that will be actually used, or substances that will be then used in ready products. So very often the surface areas that you want to evaluate are much smaller than what is needed for dyeing pens, but then also dyeing pens and inks are quite contaminating, or they can even be toxic. So this is the reason why a lot of people are turning from dyeing pens to something else. And if we then think about the contact angle measurement, as I said before, contact angle is really a measure of wettability. And basically, lower the contact angle value, better the wettability of the surface. And contact angle measurements are very surface sensitive. So we are really evaluating the outmost surface of our sample. It also gives you a number. So it's a quantitative method compared to the dyeing pens. It's very fast to perform. It doesn't destroy your surface. And as you can see in the picture here, it can also be used on a very small areas. So these are some structures on a surface that are 250 micrometers in diameter. So you can even place a drop of liquid on that small areas. Also, contact angle measurements can be used to determine the surface V energy, but I would argue that very, very often water contact angle measurements are enough. We will discuss that a little bit later. I want to show you if we just take a look how the contact angle measurement would be done in practice. So you can see a short video here where basically we have set our measurement parameters into the recipe beforehand, most important parameters being drop volume and our recording time and the frame rate that we are recording with. And when those parameters are set, we can simply press the start button, and our automated dispenser will form the drop of the size that we have set into the recipe and place that on the sample surface. And we can get the contact angle reading live, as you can see in the video. So quite straightforward and easy measurement to do. And now, as I already mentioned, a lot of people are actually using only water contact angle measurements. And one of the reasons why water is so good test liquid is that water has these polar and dispersive parts in it. So it means because we have hydrogen bonding in water, in between the water molecules, it's quite polar liquid, but it also has this dispersive component in it. So the purpose to do surface free energy measurement is often to distinguish between the polar and dispersive parts, but because we have the liquid that already have both of those parts, it will interact with, have both of the interactions with the surface. Water is, I mean, this is a direct measurement, of course, as you saw, very easy, fast to do. It gives you information about hydrophilicity and hydrophobicity of your surface. So typically a 90-degree angle is used as a threshold value. So if you have a contact angle with water below 90 degrees, then you have a hydrophilic sample. And if you have a contact angle above 90 degrees, then you have a hydrophobic sample. Water is also non-toxic and it doesn't contaminate your surface, and water is, of course, readily available. So those are the main reasons why people are using water. And as I said, I mean, many times water is enough to, or the contact angle measurements with water is enough. And if we look at this graph here, this is where we have looked at the surface free energy and the water contact angle as a function of plasma treatment time. So here you can see that when the water contact angle is at lowest, the surface free energy is at highest. So this is, in a sense, we can use also the water contact angle to define our plasma treatment times. And also for, if we think about quality control purposes, then we can think of it so that low water contact angle, high surface free energy, good wettability, and good adhesion. And the vice versa, of course, if we have a very high water contact angle, then we have low surface free energy, bad wettability, and poor adhesion. There are also some standards that are giving instructions on measurements of water contact angle on it says corona treated films in this case, but in principle you can of course apply the same principle for other type of treatment methods as well. These two standards, ASTM and ISO standard, they are basically equivalent, so they are identical to each other. And they, for example, they define the contact angle, water contact angle limits for the treatment as shown here in the list. So the standard is also saying that it's enough to measure only water contact angle. Now, one of the reasons, one of the most typical use case of plasma treatment, and then also the using the water contact angle to evaluate the plasma treatment is on polymer surfaces. And this is because the coating adhesion to plastics and polymers is typically quite poor. And this is because of the very low surface free energy of the polymer surface, which then leads to lowered wettability, and it will make it more difficult for adhesives or coatings to spread on the surface. Polymers are typically chemically inert, and they kind of lack the reactive functional groups on their surfaces, and they are also often very smooth and non-porous, so they don't have these mechanical sites for, they don't have this mechanical interlocking possibility either. So plasma treatment is often used to introduce these more chemically active groups on the polymer surface. And this is just one example of how fluoropolymer tubes are treated, and then the contact angle is used to study that surface treatment, or actually just to verify if that surface treatment has been successful. So this is not exactly, this is like a chemical etching process that has been performed, but nonetheless, if you don't do any kind of surface treatment on the tube, the water contact angle will be very high, and then if you have a fully etched surface, then you can measure much lower contact angles on the same sample. And this is just showing how this can be applied to, or how contact angle measurements can be done on a very, very small and narrow sample. So this is a tube with a tube diameter of 0.9 millimeters. This is a plastic tube. So it is possible to measure quite easily contact angles on this type of a very narrow samples by attaching it to a holder and using a small drop size to deposit on the surface. So you can see actually in this picture the small droplet on the tube surface. And in this video, you can see the actual deposition of that tiny droplet on the tube surface. So again, we are making a small droplet, and the software is automatically, the instrument is automatically making the small droplet based on our set parameters, and then placing the droplet on the tube surface. Here is another case study done where plasma treatment of polypropylene has been monitored with contact angle, and now here you can see measurements done with different liquids. So these are the probe liquids that you would use typically if you would want to calculate then the surface free energy of your solid. So in this case, you can see here the total surface free energy, the dispersive and the polar parts. And here, if we take a look at these pictures, you can see the water contact angle on untreated and plasma treated surface, and the same for diiodomethane and ethylene glycol surfaces. And now, if I remember correctly, this was done with oxygen plasma, so we actually there was actually some hydroxyl group added to the surface of the polymer, which then increased the surface polarity. And this can actually be seen by quite significant decrease of the polar contact angles of polar liquids, so water and ethylene glycol. Also, the diatomethane contact angle decreased a little bit, but there is a quite substantial decrease in the polar liquids. But so in principle, it's possible to, with the same contact angle measurement, you can either only do it so that you measure the water contact angle, or in case you want to have a better understanding of the polar and dispersive interactions on your surface, then you can also extend your analysis so that you add other measurement liquids. Probably the most common way to do it is to use water and diatomethane. So then you can calculate your surface free energies based on one of the most commonly used surface free energy theories called OWRK. But as said, or let's say that if you are doing this more from a research point of view, that you want to understand what is happening at your surface, then going all the way to the surface free energy might make sense. But then if you are using it more to verify the effectiveness of the plasma treatment, then the water contact angle value is typically enough to give you the answers that you need. One quite important thing to notice is that these, especially polymer surfaces, suffer from what is called an aging effect. And this is also something that is good to monitor when you are kind of optimizing your plasma treatment process, because this is something that will affect on how quickly you should, let's say, continue with your process step after the plasma treatment has been done. And this is a study made some years ago already, but this is just to show how kind of different surface plasma treatments in the, I think in the publication, they actually used oxygen and nitrogen plasma to decrease the water contact angle of the polymers. And then they actually measured the contact angle after 2 days, or basically immediately after the treatment, and then also 2 days after the treatment, to see how the contact angle of the polymer changes as a function of time. And one thing here to also notice, they also looked at the storage conditions. So it also makes a difference how you store your sample after the plasma treatment, on how quickly the contact angle will revert, or the surface properties will revert back to the original state. And of course, it's also to some extent material dependent. So not all the polymer materials behave exactly the same way. So this is also good to understand. We have talked mainly about polymers here, but just to also show that metal surfaces are very, very often also plasma treated. And this is often to, again, basically clean and activate the surface before the next step. Also, it's good to understand that, I mean, with polymers, aging effect actually comes from the fact that the molecules in the bulk of the polymer rearranged so that they kind of come, the native molecules come back to the surface, and that causes the contact angle to go back to its, let's say, not necessarily all the way to the original state, but at least closer to the original state. But then the metal surfaces also suffer from this aging, but then it's most typically due to contamination happening to the surface rather than any kind of molecular arrangements at the surface. And one of the reasons, if metal surfaces, if they would be totally clean and stored in vacuum, to be honest, they would have extremely high surface free energies. But if you have a very, very high surface free energy, then it's super easy to or it will very quickly absorb all kinds of contaminants on the surface. So that is the reason why you can achieve a very high surface free energy by doing, let's say, some sort of a plasma treatment, but you will lose that very, very quickly. Basically, higher the surface free energy is, the quicker you will kind of lose it, because the surface will absorb all kinds of contamination to the surface. But anyway, also with metal surfaces, it's important to understand that this type of an aging effect happens, and then it just and it depends on how you store the sample. So do you store it in air? Do you store it underwater? And that will make a difference on how the surface will migrate back to the original state. And when you are optimizing your plasma treatment processes, this is something that, so you shouldn't only optimize the plasma treatment time and the efficiency of the plasma and so forth, but you should also think about the storage of the samples after plasma treatment. And before we take questions, I would first of all want to conclude this a little bit. So this is a super widely used method to change the wettability of the surfaces. So plasma treatment is really used in many different industries, and I think among the listeners there's also people from, could be from biomedical industry, or could be from some material provider company that provides materials for different purposes. And there are so many different fields where plasma treatment is used. A contact angle is really an efficient method to both optimize the plasma treatment parameters, but also to evaluate how successful the plasma treatment has been. And it can be used like a quality control type of a method to decide whether the treatment has been successful or not. And it's a very fast and user-dependent method. It gives you an actual number, so which is different compared to, for example, dye pens, where it's a little bit user-dependent in that sense. And it's also a contamination-free method, especially if you use only water contact angle. So that will give you the possibility to use these measurements also on samples or surfaces that you are then actually going to use later on in a product. Okay, yeah, thank you so much, everybody, and have a nice rest of the day.